Thank you very much. Yes, I'm here. I would like to congratulate Mr. Preda with his report, which includes a number of very positive recommendations for the better management of the emergency refugee situation funding. Mr. Preda rightly points out that the grand bargain commitment to better serve people in need is an excellent measure to overcome some of the issues regarding accountability and implementation of the donors' funding. In fact, all the recommendations in paragraph 7.4 and 7.41 to 7.47 are very useful suggestions to improve the emergency refugee situations funding. The only thing I strongly disagree with is to improve funding to reinforce security, border controls, and return systems. We cannot continue to make it a priority to prevent refugees from arriving on our territory and keep them contained in the global south. There should be a collective and political responsibility to reject policies and practices of containment. Instead, we should prioritize funding to improve the living conditions of refugees between the initial displacement from their countries of origin and the search for a new home. The vast majority of displaced people will keep spending most of their lives in critical, protracted situations. European countries should have obligations regarding the management of migration flows, both towards asylum seekers and also obligations towards refugees outside their own territory. States are required to act according to the strongest moral and legal norm regarding people seeking asylum, the principle of non-refoulement. But there is still no moral or legal obligation to fund aid or to resettle refugees who are on their way to destination countries or who are staying in refugee camps or informal settlements. In other words, aid provided by states to refugees abroad is still considered a matter of generosity and goodwill rather than the fulfillment of a moral and legal norm, whereas burden sharing to improve the management of migration flows should be a duty and not merely an act of generosity. In the same way as in the provision of other international public goods, substantial free riding might be expected regarding refugee protection. States are unlikely to engage in altruistic or ethically oriented behavior. Rather, states will only act to maximize their own interests. Therefore, to overcome the free riding, it is necessary to encourage states to cooperate throughout the use of incentives. 2/3 of the refugees live in protected refuge situations, on average for 17 years, often much longer. And out of those, about 40% of the refugees live in UN-run camps, where because they are forbidden either to work or the freedom of movement or to seek work elsewhere, they remain entirely dependent on international aid for surviving during this long period. To avoid this, it is indeed very important to improve the funding of emergency refugee situations, not least to enhanced engagement between humanitarian and development actors, as stated in the report. Thank you.